Are you looking to improve your conditioning for basketball? Well, today's video, I'm gonna help you do that by also keeping your knees, ankles, joints feeling good so you continue to ball out. Let's get to it. Hey there, Brandon Spilley here from Thirst Gym, and today I'm going to help you improve your conditioning specifically for basketball. The issues that I see when I work with the basketball players in my facility is they usually come in pretty banged up in their knees, hips, ankles, feet, and sometimes even their shoulders and low back. And what happens is they happen to do way too much conditioning and running. I'm sure you've probably seen it where coaches just run the absolute piss out of you and make you completely tired, and then that brings up your body on top of everything you're already doing on top of the court. We want to optimize your conditioning so that you can perform at a high level repeatedly, because basketball is demanding on the cardiovascular side, but there's smarter ways to do it. And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 5 ways you can improve your conditioning and help you be a better ball player. All right, so the first thing I really like to recommend for my basketball players, and almost really just any athlete in general, but in particular basketball players because of the hard nature of running on the court, is cyclical conditioning. Now, you might be asking, what is cyclical conditioning? Quite simply, it's doing the same motion repetitively over and over for a long duration, but you're going to be moving in a cyclical fashion. So this is where bikes and row ergs and even ski ergs work great, because you can do them continuously over and over and over at a low to moderate intensity, and this is going to help you improve your cardiovascular health. Now, improving your cardiovascular system and doing this at a low intensity or moderate intensity, usually around 60% of your max heart rate, is going to be able to be the sweet spot that you can get cardiovascular benefits, improve recovery, and overall improve your performance for what you're doing. Now, using the thing like the bike and the ski erg and the row erg are awesome because they're not going to bang your joints up. You don't have to run up and down the court. You can get all the cardiovascular benefits that you need as an athlete without having to put those strain and the wear and tear on your joints, and that can be huge for basketball players. They're playing 30, 20, 30, maybe even 40 games in a basketball season. Then you got to factor in your practice and all those other things. So, cyclical based conditioning, here are the quick dirty tips. You want to try to get around 20 to 30 minutes, anywhere from 2 to 3 sessions per week. If you happen to be in season, you can scale this back a little bit. You also want to make sure, again, that you're using something cyclical that's not going to bang your joints up, and you want to shoot for around that 60% heart rate, give or take. Ideally, if you can get this up to 40 minutes, that would be even better, but I know most athletes have real lives and real things to do, so if you can be that 20 to 30 minute spot several times per week as fillers between your practices and your strength and conditioning work, this is going to fill that gap, improve your conditioning, and you're going to feel better. The second type of conditioning that I really like is contrast-based training. And this is going to be where you take a heavy-based exercise, like say a back squat or a front squat, and you pair it with a plyometric exercise, say like a box jump or a hurdle hop or a band-resisted jump, something of that nature. I'm going to link a full video of the French contrast method and contrast training in general in the description box below in case you want to go into a deep dive of that. But in general, all you got to do is pick that heavy based exercise that you want to do, again, front squat, back squat, and then pair it with a vertical jump so that you're moving in the same plane. And what that's going to do is going to condition your body specifically for the demands of jumping and improving that vertical jump, but also handling the loads and the stressors of that. So we're going to get a higher nervous system output. We can do this again for 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of 2 to 3 reps of each exercise, and we can get a high quality amount of workload in a short period amount of time and get performance benefits from it. So it makes it a great win-win for basketball players that are tired of having to run up and down the court, so you can save your joints, improve your vertical jump, and improve that conditioning. I recommend only doing this 1 to 2 days per week for about 4 to 6 week stints before you pull away from it, because your body will adapt to it and you won't get the necessary from it. So save this towards the end of your basketball season as you're getting to prepare for those big tournaments or big games, so that you can perform at your best and be conditioned your best for those specific outcomes that you're after. All right, that third piece of conditioning you need to focus on is speed endurance. And what this means is being able to perform high output bursts of speed for a long period amount of time. So you would do a short duration based sprint, 5, 10 seconds, and you should be able to do this over and over and over and over. And for many people, that's what they call repeats, but in the performance world, we really like these as like hill sprints, or doing every minute on the minute based work, or different types of kettlebell and different terms of conditioning that you're gonna find in the gym and you're doing this at a certain work to rest ratio, and that's gonna maximize that speed endurance. So you have to give a high effort. That's very important for this to work, is that you're having to give those high level efforts for 5 to 10 seconds. If you're doing it longer than 10 seconds, it's probably not a high enough intensity, because you should feel gassed by the time you hit that 10-second mark if we're training the appropriate energy systems that we need to. And then having that rest that we need, again, this can be 45, 60, maybe 75 seconds, enough that you can get majority of your breath back, you can feel you can give high effort, and then you go again. If you rest too long, then we're just focusing on speed, and that's a great thing. We want to be able to develop our speed, but that's in a different portion of our training. Speed endurance is cutting that rest window down just a little bit so that we're not fully recovered, but we're still having to give high quality effort. Again, my recommendations for doing this is about 1 to 2 times a week at the absolute most, for you to get anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. And you're gonna wanna use things like hill sprints, sled sprints, every minute on the minute work. So what that means, you might do 10 or 12 kettlebell swings at a high effort, and then you're gonna rest the duration that you don't finish that minute, and you're gonna do that for say 10 to 15 minutes. These are all easy ways to develop that speed endurance that you're looking for. And again, if you can do it with hill sprints or sled-based work, that's gonna mimic the running factor, which can be important for you, but not something you have to do. So make sure this portion is definitely on your list if you feel like you're missing that last little burst when it comes to the end of games. All right, the fourth type of conditioning method that I love for basketball players is sled dragging. Sled dragging is great for any sport, but in particular basketball players, because again, it comes back to banging on those knees, hips, ankles, and joints from all the landings we're taking on that hardwood on that court. Sled dragging is unique in the fact that we get to load the tissues, so our muscles, with load, because we're gonna put weight on the sled, but we're gonna have a concentric only muscle action, which means we're not gonna do any of the eccentric or the lowering aspect, which is usually considered to be the most damaging part of strength training to making you sore and feeling it the next day. So we can train those tissues at high volumes and with moderate loads, getting our heart rate into those moderate based intensity zones, low to moderate, that's 60 to 70% range, without banging our body up in the process. So if you happen to have patellar tendonitis or your hips bothering you, your ankle mobility isn't good, pushing and dragging a sled is gonna be the best thing that you can do in season while you're playing basketball. My recommendation here is to drag that sucker 25 to 50 yards at a time, anywhere from 2 to 6 sets, depending upon what your strength conditioning program might look like. So if you're just doing the dragging the sled and using this as a recovery-based method, which is awesome, then do it 5 to 6 sets and just call it a day. If it's built in with the rest of your strength conditioning based program, then you do it for 2 to 3 sets, again, 25 to 50 yards, mixing up whether you're doing it lateral, reverse, or pushing it forward, all are fantastic. If you're really after that knee health, I think dragging and reverse is the best thing that you're going to do, and that lateral is going to work great for working on your change of direction, but also at the same time improving your hip mobility. So make sure you're dragging a sled, especially in season, but you really should be dragging it almost all year round. All right, the final conditioning method I like for basketball players is combined plyometrics. So what I mean by this is we're gonna take multiple plyometrics, pair them together, and perform that as our set, get ample rest, and then repeat that. But the kicker here is that we wanna make sure we're not doing all super high intensity plyometrics. We want to kind of vary them between low, medium, and high, or low and high, so that we can still get that high stimulus, but also, again, address our conditioning, but get different tendinous adaptations that can also help us perform better on the court. One of my favorite ways to do this is to take a pogo hop variation, which is a very low intensity plyometric, pair it with a higher intensity plyometric like hurdle hops or band assisted jumps, and then pair that either with an upper body exercise like say a med ball slam or a scoop toss, or if we're still trying to stay in the plyometric realm of the lower body, doing a lateral hurdle hop with a stick or different lateral bound variations, making sure that I control and stick each landing so that the intensity is a little bit lower. So as you can tell here, I'm waiving my intensity throughout the plyometrics, but overall it's gonna take me 35, 45, maybe 60 seconds to perform the entire set. And then I'm gonna rest 2.5, 3 minutes. So I'm gonna get some specific based conditioning for plyometrics that can then help me do and perform better on the court when it comes time to jump, change direction, and do all the wild things that basketball players do on the court, because your plyometrics are kind of all over the place. So my recommendation here is to only do 2 to 3 sets if you're in season, 3 to 4 sets, maybe 5 sets if you're out of season, and then make sure that you're weighting and then pushing where you need to push these at certain times of the year. So if you're out of season, this isn't really as important, but if you're going into the season, this is definitely important because we can prepare our tissues to get ready for all the high volume of jumping and the landings that we're going to take on the basketball court, which is where this method really shines for basketball players. And that's going to wrap up today's video on improving your conditioning for basketball. We talked about 5 different methods covering all the spectrums of conditioning, particularly for basketball. So depending upon what you need, you can kind of hyper focus on it to help you be a better ball player. If you happen to like today's video, do me a favor, hit that like button, leave me a comment, subscribe, share with a friend. All that really helps me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you at the next video.